Get over here. D2 Word Live here with Rip is bad at performing fatalities tides.
Boy, I will get Mortal Kombat again, and I will fucking Sub-Zero freeze your ass again.
I'd love to see you even try to memorize all those freaking inputs and shit like that, but
I've done it once, and I do it, but this time I'll do it with Melina, and then you chomp your face off.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Trying to use my character against me. I see how you are.
Then you'll have death by snoo.
But anyway, enough about that. We can talk about playing Mortal Kombat all we want, but today we aren't playing Mortal Kombat. We're actually freaking putting it all in a tier list from the first one in 92 to the recent one in 23. Sorry, I refuse.
The first three right now. Put them in. Flawless victory.
Well, we got to talk about them first. Now let's just get it started. The first one, Mortal Kombat 1992, the original one.
Flawless victory.
Now, when this game came out, first one came out, it was an arcade style game, obviously.
The first one of their kind for Mortal Kombat to even come out with something like this. Or Konami.
Yeah. And obviously the first Mortal Kombat game obviously introduced the gaming world to fatalities for the first time.
Yes.
Yeah, and the little backstory about this one I heard of was originally the word combat in Mortal Kombat was supposed to be spelled regular with a C until one of the producers there just decided as a joke put a K right there and it stuck.
Yes.
And of course, everyone knows the history. It was the first Mortal Kombat game, which is the reason why we have the game rating system that we do today.
There was no rating system back then.
No, there wasn't. Specifically, it was Scorpion's spine rip that the freaking government hated. And after discussion, they're like, we need to freaking put a rating system on these games like we do movies. Which is why we got the rated E through M rating system on video games. Mortal Kombat inspired that, what we have today.
And we also have AAA rated games.
Yeah. But a game like this won't hold up in 2025, obviously. It's a product that was a product of its time, but where would you rank this? Since it started off this whole series, like the very first one.
Flawless victory.
I can't argue with that. It's the original one, but like you said, I forgot to mention this earlier. We got flawless victory up here, meaning in Hall of Fame, whatever. Friendship, good. Friendship, great. Get over here, all right. Or good, right? Brutality rating, all right. Like passable. Fatality, garbage. As in kill it. Get it away from us, right?
Yeah, the handheld versions.
I ain't doing the handheld versions, but if I did, they'd all be in trash. But there'll be some we'll probably put in trash here. I don't think this next one we're going to the second one. Now, the second one was also an arcade-style game, obviously. And it did introduce...
This one gave us a bunch of different characters like Baraka, Vega...
Melina.
Melina.
Melina and Katana for the first time. As opposed to the first Mortal Kombat game that only gave us about the six OGs, or, the 6 fighters that would be the OGs. I think we also got, the good thing about this, new characters that would go on to be staples of this whole series, but the flaw in it would be, the big complaint I always see about MK2 would be how the friggin' AI is always overpowered on the second round, beating your ass. And no matter what you do, they always counter. I never had a
problem with it.
At least that's what I keep hearing people say about it.
Never had a problem with it.
Now, would I put it in flawless or flawless victory up there? I don't know. But it is a staple of here, but... Yeah, it is a staple of here, but, you know... I guess... Where would you put the second Mortal Kombat game?
If you put it in a fatality, I'll come over there and use a fatality on you.
I would never put in fatality. That'd be a slap in the face of people from this era, by the way.
Yeah, then you then you just see me driving my car with this, you're like, what the hell? What the
Okay, just for that. No, I'm just kidding.
Motherfucker, try it. Try it. Try me.
No, but anyway, where would you... it's not trash. I know it's not trash, but just like the first one, it doesn't age that well. But, you know, none of the early games really do. So we can't use that as a factor.
Right here, I guess.
It's like... Okay.
I would say it'd be flawless victory because it was actually a pretty decent game.
And I'd say it would be slightly better than the first one. Only because of the new characters and the newer fatalities at that point at the time.
Yeah.
Then we go on to a game which I don't believe should go in Flawless Victory Hall of Fame. And the reason why is we're talking about the original Mortal Kombat 3 here. Now, just imagine Street Fighter without Ken or Ryu.
Ryu?
Or imagine any top game.
Not Ryu?
Yeah, but or imagine any top like game series, but without their main fighter there, or main character in it. That's what we got with MK3 because Scorpion wasn't even in MK3. You know, the poster fighter for this game series, and the fatalities were cartoonish, which there ain't nothing wrong with that. You gotta have some comedy so your games ain't really that serious.
Well, we got Sub-Zero.
Yeah, but the maskless Sub-Zero, like the new version of Sub-Zero, the second version, I should say, with this one. And yeah, the fatalities are memorable, but because of the lack of characters that were taken out of games, and yes, MK3 first introduced us to the Cyber Ninjas. Ketchup and mustard.
Smoke.
And smoke.
I hated Smoke.
Yeah. And I thought the stages were kind of good, but, you know, all in all, I think there was a better version of this game. We're about to talk about that literally in a second, but where would you put the original MK3? I think I would put in Friendship tier or Get Over Your tier.
I guess Get Over.
And this is the reason why I think that, because we got Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 afterwards, which is the first Mortal Kombat game I have ever personally played when I was a kid. Yeah, I showed my age there. I was playing it on Sega.
Well, I played the first 3, then I played the other one on Sega as well.
And Ultimate MK3 had all the characters that freaking regular MK3 did not have, making a comeback to the series. Yeah.
Talk about showing your age in fucking Dreamcast.
Oh, yeah, they had that back then when we were kids, too, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, it was a great video game, great freaking Mortal Kombat game. There ain't no doubt people would put that up there at the top of their list. But yeah, the fatalities are still the same. We got animalities, but all the animalities seem the same except for a few. But you know, this was the 90s. You really can't compare it to today.
Yeah.
And you know, the fighting style was fine for what it was at the time. It didn't really evolve into a combo system. Yeah, it evolved in the combo system in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, and Mortal Kombat 3, I believe they upped the gameplay to combo systems here.
They had combos. They had more advanced combos in Ultimate 3.
Yeah.
Which were a lot harder to fucking do, but
they had them. As opposed to the first 2, that was just, you know, punch, kick, duck, jump, you know, that type of stuff only. So it's like, you know, I would personally put this on Flawless Victory, the Ultimate MK3 here. Where would you put it?
I'd put it in kind of like Friendship because it had its down points with where they took out a lot of things and then they finally added in the characters that people wanted was the other version of Sub-Zero with his mask, and then they added Scorpion.
But the fatalities were still comically hokey. Like, seriously, when you perform a fatality on like freaking 50 like freaking goddamn skulls and shit, and rib cages would just appear for no reason.
Yes.
And yes, some of those fatalities are memorable and are considered great now, but back then it was kind of hokey.
Yeah.
And yes, they had new characters, returning characters. I would just say on top of Friendship for now. If we go back, we'll
That's what I'm saying.
And then we had MK Trilogy. That was the next game, and that was pretty much that was pretty much the first two games and Ultimate MK3 in one package, and had all the characters in it at that point.
The trilogy had MK1, MK2, and MK3.
Yeah. And
with a little bit better upgraded graphics for it.
Yeah, and I know most people would freaking hold that in high regard. Like, have you even played MK Trilogy or at least seen some video on it?
I've played it.
And what's your opinion on this?
They got rid of the glitches for it. Well, it had some glitches still. The fatalities were a little bit better. And the combo system was a lot smoother.
Yeah. Yeah, and I dabble in it a little bit, but most of my experience is just watching gameplay videos on it recently.
Honestly, I would either put it in Friendship or Get Over Here. It wasn't really Flawless Victory because it still had its problems.
But it was still.
But it wasn't brutality either, or fatality either.
Yeah, I mean it was still good in its own way, and people hold it in high regard, considering it's the first 3 games put together. Something that
it's in my top 10 favorite games of that I've played from Mortal Kombat.
See, I'll just put
that's why I'm putting it in the top probably the top 2 tiers that are right there is Get Over Here or Friendship.
I'll just put it up in Friendship because all the characters there is better than MK3, the original MK3.
Also in the Trilogy Edition, we also got different variants of Sub-Zero and Scorpion. We got Thermal Scorpion, I think it was.
Yeah.
And the colder version of Sub-Zero.
I was like, yeah, but hey, you know what game wasn't very good at all? The spin-off, the mythological spin-off of the Sub-Zero game.
Fatality.
That was pretty much just a side-scroller. The gameplay was clunky from what I heard. The acting in it was bad. And it just didn't play like a Mortal Kombat game.
Just put it in Fatality.
AK trash, that goes there. But we got to talk about it. Okay, I get it. It was different. It was something different. And apparently it was following Sub-Zero's freaking backstory before the events of MK1, or MK92 to be more specific, but to me as a video game complete package it just didn't work out. Your thoughts on that one, knowing what we know about it?
It was a fucking side-scrolling game. It had terrible fucking storyline.
You had to
terrible voice acting.
You had to press
movement sucked ass.
And you had to press a button combo just to look forward or look backwards instead of just forward back.
Yes.
Yeah, and you had to have precise timing jumping on platforms, otherwise you're dead. Right. in the fighting mode didn't even feel like a real combat, according to what I heard, reviews I heard. And I'm just like, thank God I never played this piece of shit then. Right?
You're lucky.
Have you?
Yes, I trashed it.
How many times you played before you're like, fuck this, and just threw it away?
4.
Yeah, and you still owe freaking Blockbuster money for renting it after you destroyed it. I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm
Actually, I didn't trash it. I just freaking put it back in and sent it back to took it back to Blockbuster and said this was the worst game ever.
Yeah, so fatality trash, that's where that goes. Even though a story like that, even though a spin-off game like that today, with today's controls and everything else, would probably work, but back then it did not work. You know what I'm saying? So now we go to MK4, the first Mortal Kombat game to be on home console at that point, with the first gen of video gaming home consoles there.
Yeah.
Now what the developers did here is they 3D'd everything up, making it look as good as they could, but they also implied some fatalities that from MK3 in here, with over-the-top sound effects, and goddamn, the freaking sound of pouring blood would make you want to rip your damn hair out. Everyone knows that sound from this game.
Drip, 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 drip. Drip, drip.
That being said, some of the fatalities visually wise was okay if the camera angle wanted to work, because half the time it was being blocked by a wall.
Yes.
And you're like, I'd be like, I bet it was devastating. I couldn't even see it. But I think this is where Conquest.
This is also the start of their censorship of the freaking fatalities.
Yeah, I think Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 was the first one to do it. Or MK3 was the first one to do it with the Scorpion Rip. Spine Rip, remember that one? It just went black.
Yep.
And you couldn't even see the damn thing.
That was Ultimate 3 that they started, but then in freaking 4, they really put more detail into where they blocking it, where they would actually put a fucking wall there or something, because people were complaining that it was too bloody.
Yeah, and this goes without saying. I forgot to mention earlier, MK2 through 4 right now had freaking stage fatalities. We just forgot to mention it. Some of them look good, others questionable. So yeah, and I think MK4 was the first one to have a conquest mode. I'm not totally sure. Don't quote me on that. It's been a while since I played it or researched it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, Ultimate 3 had conquest mode.
Yep. But yeah, your thoughts on MK4 as a whole? Where do you think it should go on this list?
Honestly, I would say brutality.
As in, it was all right, but it's not the greatest. It's passable.
It was all right. I just hated the freaking censorship.
And it was passable.
Yeah.
It was passable, but speaking of censorship, we'll be getting to that in a bit. I think you know exactly what game I'm talking about that's on this list right here. But we'll get to that one when we get to that one.
Yeah, you get to that one, it just goes directly into fatality. There is no fucking question.
Yeah, we'll get to that one when we get to that one. But anyway, next we had MK Gold, which was just, a revamped version of MK4 for the Dreamcast, I believe.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say that MK Gold is better than the original MK4. I don't have particularly much history with that one, but it's It's like, do you have any history with MK Gold, or have you seen gameplay on it, or what?
Dude, I just said I played on it with a fucking Dreamcast.
Yeah, and your thoughts on Gold versus the original 4, MK4?
That one was better.
Like,
I thought they had better graphics, they had better sound, except for the blood where you could still hear it go drip, 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 drip,
like a damn,
drip, drip,
like that
drip,
loud
drip,
freaking
drip,
like
drip,
waterfall sound his ass. Because I've seen videos on it.
Like the freaking faucet, like a broken faucet, all you hear is the water go drip, 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 drip. Just looking at your like, it's cringe.
Yeah, and I guess according to you, Gold was okay. How was the gameplay on it versus 4? Overall, anyway. If you remember.
The gameplay had a little bit better, smoother movement. 4 did.
Yeah.
4 was kind of clunky still, but Gold was decent.
So, I don't have any experience with Gold. I never played it. But, so I'm leaving this one up to you, really. Where would you rank MK Gold here?
I'd put in Brutality.
As in it's okay.
Right in front of 4.
So about right there.
Yes. And still, it had its moments of where it was kind of clunky, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Next up, we have MK Special Forces. Enough said about that one. Moving on.
We have to talk about it.
Gameplay, shit. Freaking storyline, shit. Overall presentation, shit. Ed Boon has nothing to do with this one. Said, nope, I don't want anything to do with this. Tobias left in the middle of production because even he knew it was probably garbage.
He saw the freaking draft. He's like, okay, it'll be pretty good. Then they redrafted the design. He's like, fuck it, I'm done.
It's like gameplay I heard, shit. Every video I've seen ranking these kind of games, they always put that one at the dead bottom. Now it's become a meme at this point. Like, I understand the development team were trying to do something different like they did with the Sub-Zero one, but this one just didn't work, and it just was worse than that Sub-Zero one. And trust me, the Sub-Zero one ain't no freaking dessert either. So yeah, their second attempt at doing a spin-off kind of failed.
Yes.
Yeah, imagining waking up back in like 2000, you're like, oh, it's Christmas morning, yay! It's like, yay, and you ask your parents to get you like MK4, and you open up that abomination. What would you think?
Yeah.
You'd be like, well, I'm disappointed. Life sucks. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just phrase we're worth about. Now we're just moving on to freaking Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance here. And yes, this one gets some points knocked down because this was the Mortal Kombat that only had, every fighter only got one fatality. But in trading it, this one was, I believe, the first one where they had the fighters fight with 3 different styles, including one with weapons. I believe. Or was that freaking MK4? I don't remember. I know they incorporated that. Right?
I think they fully incorporated it after MK4.
And yes, Deadly Alliance was the freaking Mortal Kombat game that one of their fatalities was Quan Chi turning everyone into a giraffe.
Oh, God.
With that neck stretch fatality.
Oh, God. That just goes in brutality. I didn't care for that.
And, honestly, backstory I heard about that is like, yeah, they edited Quan Chi to do that just to prove that, hey, this is funny. But the developers were actually going to have Quan Chi have a serious fatality, but they didn't have any time, so they had to put that in there.
Yeah.
which is why that's been memed to death ever since.
Well, technically, Quan Chi was supposed to rip your head off, but with the censorship that was going on.
Instead, I bet the first time you played freaking Deadly Alliance when you were a little bit older at that point, because it came out, I believe, in 2002, 3, 4, or 5, somewhere in there. I bet the first time you seen Quan Chi's finisher, the next stretch, I bet you went all Patrick, be like, it's a giraffe. Yeah. Of course, I give freaking Mortal Kombat freaking actual positive credit because it was the first Mortal Kombat that immediately killed their main character right at the start, which was Liu Kang here. Which eventually in future titles would give us undead zombie Liu Kang.
No.
I'm like, they had balls to start off their story that way. Right?
Yep.
And they had the conquest mode based on that. They had and everything like that. I thought it was okay from gameplay scene of it. I probably played as a kid, I just don't remember much of it. But your thoughts on Deadly Alliance as a whole?
Yeah, it was okay.
So would you put it in Get Over Here or Brutality, or where would you put it?
I put it in Brutality.
Boy. Would you say it's better than MK4, though?
A little bit.
So I'll put it right about that.
Yeah.
Next, we have Mortal Kombat Deception.
Oh, God.
Now, I don't remember too much in this, but I know... I know freaking one of the fatalities in there was Cyrex eating you up in his dang robot body. I know that.
Yeah, it looked weird.
Yep. And a couple other good positive things. I heard the conquest mode was all decent enough on this game, and the fatalities were all right, because I seen a bunch of fatalities on there. They weren't the greatest, but they were all right for what they were at that point.
Yeah.
And the gameplay I heard was decent enough for the time as well. It wasn't crap or anything like that, but I bet you have more experience playing Deception than I do.
I would put it in Brutality, honestly. Or the highest it should go is Get Over Here, right behind MK3.
Yeah. And I know Deception was also the video game that had the first appearance of your favorite fighter, Su Hao, who only made 2 appearances. Dude, it's pretty bad. When it comes to the Su Hao character, it's pretty bad that the developers who created him was like, fuck that guy. And that's why he's never coming back. He's always the butt of the joke.
Yeah, they only had him in that one game. That's it.
That and Armageddon, but then again, they had everyone in Armageddon. Right?
Yes.
So
I would. Su Hao was fucking OP as hell.
Yeah.
But people didn't like him or his design.
So what would you say you would put him over at the Get Over Here column?
The highest it will go is Get Over Here, is right behind MK3.
Yeah, I'll put it there. Now we go on to what possibly is a bunch of people's favorite spin-off game, and that's Shaolin Monks.
I didn't really care for Shaolin Monks. I never really played it.
Yeah, and according to what I heard about this game, which I probably dabbled in a little bit, not that much growing up, I wasn't really wasn't involved with the MK scene until Armageddon. All the way through. Yes, I did have experience with MK3, but that was just, when I was a kid.
I didn't really play Shaolin Monks because I didn't really care for it until when they came out with Armageddon, and then I started playing it more, playing with the rest of the Mortal Kombat series. I just went back to playing the originals.
Yeah, and of course, Shaolin Monks, that's just basically, the whole gameplay is just, here's the puzzle. The game is just pretty much based on Liu Kang and Kung Lao's freaking like journey here.
That's what I heard. And like I said, I never really dabbled into it.
And and another positive thing I could say about it from what I found out about this game was this is the game that has the most fatalities out of any Mortal Kombat game. With the way they finish off their opponents in the story mode and everything else. Right?
Yeah.
But on the flip side, the negative side, not a whole lot of characters are in here. I think there was only like 4, maybe 5 characters at most. And another thing is like, if you back in the day, this was on PlayStation 2, so back on the day, it's like, if you have a story saved up or going, you better finish it yourself. But if you have a friend come over and play that story mode, it no longer exists. And you and your friend have to go all the way through it together without even getting anywhere you left off.
Yeah.
I mean, that was another freaking like con I heard from it. So based on this, I'm not saying that it's crap. I'm not saying that it's like garbage like the other 2 spin-offs that we talked about. Right?
Yeah.
I would just say it's just based on people's reactions, reviews, and videos I seen on it. I would just say it's good, or the third tier, the get over here tier. I wouldn't put it any higher than that based on what I know about the game.
Yeah.
Now here's where, so I would probably put it at the end, right here. Now here's where the real discussion is for the last ones. The games that we know very well. Starting with what people would probably think is the worst Mortal Kombat game, but I don't think so, and that's freaking Armageddon.
Armageddon was okay. It was good.
Okay, let's get the negative one out of the way first. People always like to complain about Armageddon because there's no original fatalities in there. They replaced all of them with a creative fatality system, which I'm like, okay, fair point. But besides the negative,
out a different system.
But for that negative, I see more positives in it. Yeah, the conquest mode, kind of hokey at times and time consuming, but I thought overall the story was fine. I beat it multiple times when I was younger. Yeah, I just showed my age there, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Armageddon did implement the motor combat race mode, which everyone likes. I liked at the time, which I believe honestly they should bring back, right? In modern games, right? Oh yeah, I think it was. Oh yeah, by the way, speaking of mini games, I think it was either Deadly Alliance or Deception that had Mortal Kombat chess mini game. I forgot to mention that earlier. I think it was one of the 2. I'm not totally sure which one. I'm pretty sure you would have remembered, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Mortal Kombat Armageddon also has, for the first time and only time, you can create your own fighter. Like you would if you're playing a WWE game, create your own wrestler. This one had its create its own fighter. It's the only Mortal Kombat game that had that feature. Right? Yeah. And of course, Armageddon, they thought it was going to be the last Mortal Kombat game in the series. They were planning on doing that because that's hence why this game had every single fighter that appeared in the previous games beforehand. Like, it was the biggest roster in an MK game and still is. So yeah, that being said, there are a couple downsides to it. Like the no fatalities one and a couple other things. But overall I thought it was a decent enough game. It's not the greatest game, in my opinion, but it's not like shit trashy that people like to dump on it. You know what I'm saying?
No.
You and I both have experience playing Armageddon, so I would just put it under, I know this is going to be controversial and probably piss a lot of people off, but I would put it under friendship. or great. I'm not putting it in Hall of Fame tier or flawless victory tier, whatever you want to call it.
I don't put it in Get Over Here.
Well, I think it's yeah. You probably make a better point, but some of the game modes that were in Mortal Kombat Armageddon, they need to bring back in modern games, in my opinion. Right?
They didn't bring back all of the Mortal Kombat characters from the originals. But they forgot one, the most OP character.
Yes. And here's what we talk about. Here's a portion of this tier list now that we get to talk about your favorite Mortal Kombat game, and that's MK versus DC.
Hey, shut up.
We all know that one was your favorite.
Crap.
Okay, we're going to talk about the negatives, but let's talk about the freaking, little positives, if there is any. I do give Mortal Kombat credit for this crossover that everyone wanted to see at that time. And it's something different, something we're not used to in video games. We got DC Universe, which they would have their own fighting games shortly afterwards. And then we have Mortal Kombat merging together. In this one, here's another positive one. MK versus DC was the first technically the first Mortal Kombat game that we actually had a proper story mode like we see in modern day games. Fighting games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So besides that, those are the only positives I can think of. Other than that, the violence was kind of toned down. There really wasn't much fatalities going on. It was rated T for one thing. Because of the developers DC didn't want freaking Batman being ripped apart, I'm guessing. But it did give us freaking the Joker for the first time in a Mortal Kombat game, which obviously he would return as a DLC character hella years later. Right?
Yep.
So it's but I get it, the cons outweigh the pros, but we gotta acknowledge the freaking pros too. Helped carry this freaking game into the modern day, at least some of the ideas. Right?
Yeah.
But all in all, I'm sorry, but I really hate to do that. As much good as this game does, it's not very good when it comes to gameplay, but your thoughts are gameplay-wise, everything-wise about this game. Pretty sure you played it as much as I did.
That was decent.
I wouldn't necessarily say it was garbage, but I don't know, because a lot of people would, and I'm kind of on the fence between garbage and all right. Right?
I said decent, so I would put it in brutality, the end of brutality.
Yeah, it was all right, but, nothing that I would come back to, right? In the modern day.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad we got a crossover, but it's nothing that I'm eager to go back to. Right?
Well, I would say fatality, because it was shit.
But knowing
that might hurt some people's feelings.
But knowing that it did set the stage for what we have in modern Mortal Kombat games with a story mode, it has to have that credit at least.
Yes, exactly where it belongs.
I'm sorry, but for me, the cons outweigh the pros. I'm sorry. All right.
Yeah.
Now let's go into deep discussions here. We got 5 left. Very modern games. Now you and I have played a lot of, I'm pretty sure. So this is going to be a decisive conversation. For these last 4 games at least, one of them being in the arcade collection. Now let's get to the freaking like game that restarted this whole timeline into what we had from this game all the way through 11 before it got changed again. And I'm talking about Mortal Kombat 9, by the way, that was released in 2011. That kind of restarted this whole Mortal Kombat series as a whole. And since it came out of the PS3 at the time, it was the most goriest and bloodiest freaking MK game out there. And the story wasn't. The story was actually good too. And in the later games, it got referenced in those stories as well.
Yeah, they took out the censorship.
And it introduced everyone to the X-ray system for the first time, which is now, your fatal blow nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So I'll let you discuss your thoughts on MK11 or MK9 as a whole. Storyline wise, fatality wise, anything that you can think of that's good, which it is good.
The fatalities were amazing. You actually got to see the original fatalities that actually happened in all their blood and glory.
Yes.
That's what my fucking highlight of it was. For all the shit fucking, I'm like, yes, finally.
Yeah, and all the fatalities. I'm not going to discount I'm not going to discount any fatality here. They were all good in my opinion. But the ones
Scorpion, flame breath, and his fucking spine rip were back.
Yep. Yeah, and then obviously the remade version of the toasty fatality from Scorpion, right, was also there. But I'm not going to discount these fatalities. They're all good, but if I'm talking about MK9, one specific fatality that stands out to me is Sindel's yelling in your damn ear and your head gets blown off.
Yeah. Coming brain fart?
And when I first seen that,
brain connection?
yes, and when I first seen that fatality for the first time way back in 2011, all I could think about was like, that's a representation of my mom yelling my head off. I say that as a joke, by the way. Right? But yeah, I mean the story mode was good. I like the different chapters to it, and the story of Raiden slowly going crazy with his amulet shattering. So yeah, I thought this was pretty good. Game was pretty good overall. Now, when it comes to where I would personally place this, I would just place this under Flawless Victory. No doubt about it. Or Hall of Fame tier, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So where would you personally place MK9 or the 2011 Mortal Kombat game?
I'd put it in Friendship or Flawless Victory.
Yeah, since you said Flawless Victory, I'm thinking more of that. Would you say it's better than? Would you say it'd be on top of Flawless Victory? I think it would be better than MK2, even though you can't compare those two. That's not right. Because MK2 wouldn't hold up to MK9. Right? But I'll put on top of Flawless Victory a Hall of Fame here. Now, we ain't going into depth talking about these games. You're just going to have to play them yourself to know why we ranked these the way we did. To get a full view of this. Next, we have the Mortal Kombat Arcade Collection that came out. They came out for the second gen, third gen at the time, going into the fourth gen, because I remember playing that on the PS4 as well, right? And
it came out for Xbox 360, PS4, and arcade.
Yeah. Okay. So it was like the fourth gen. Okay. Yeah, I remember playing that on the PS4. It was okay, but the arcade collection was just pretty much a reskin or console version of the first three games. So yeah, since we talked about them as a whole, and it's kind of a remake, I would say I don't even know where the hell I would put freaking the arcade collection here.
I would put this would be controversial because not everyone liked the arcade version.
Yeah.
I would put it in either Friendship or Get Over Here, but a lot of people would put it in Trash.
Yeah, well, when it comes to these tier lists, you're known for making controversial decisions. I mean, hell, you put Sheamus in Hall of Fame for his Rumble win.
It was Hall of Fame.
Trash.
Hall of Fame.
I can debate this till the cows come home. But
So
anyway,
could I, and I would win.
I really didn't. It's like I didn't think. Well, for me personally, I didn't think the arcade collection really was that good. But at least I knew if I wanted to play like MK3 and go back and play it on that, revisit my childhood temporarily. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but since what you said was over, I'm just gonna put it's good on the ass end over here. At least it's not. It's staying away from up here. We're staying away from Friendship and Flawless up here. You know what I'm saying? So, oh yeah, and I forgot to mention this about MK9. MK9 was the first MK game that freaking featured guest characters, by the way. We had Kratos from God of War, and we had Freddy Krueger in MK9.
Yeah.
Forgot to mention that, but it's still, whatever, it's still in Flawless Victory. Now we go to MK10. Now, before we talk about anything, let's talk about the guest characters in MK10, since that was what we had Texas Chainsaw Massacre's Leatherface and Jason Voorhees in this one. And Alien and Predator as the guest characters on here that I can remember off the top of my head, right?
Yeah.
And overall, the story, though, it's like, kind of, to me, after playing the story many times, it scrambles all over the place. You're supposed to be focused on the combat kids, or, the next gen of Mortal Kombat fighters here. Your Cassie Cages and Jackie Briggs and their group, right?
Yeah.
But it just kind of flip-flops between the present, past. You can't really keep up. Right?
Yeah.
And somewhere along the way, between the events of Mortal Kombat 9 and Mortal Kombat 10, Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade supposedly got together and then separated. After Cassie came along here. Right?
Yeah, the Cassie Cage was a child at that point.
Yep. And I guess you'd have to be like reading all the Mortal Kombat comics to know everything in between the two games, but for those like me who didn't, it's kind of hard to keep up, and it was really confusing with the story. But either way, the story did its job. I thought it was okay, even though it kind of flip-flopped around, right? And of course, there was different fighting style. There was 3 different fighting styles for each freaking competitor or fighter in this game as well. The X-rays were great, I think, right?
No.
And there was environmental fighting where you can just pick up an object when lit up to throw at your opponent. I know that. And I did videos on MKX. It was pretty good. No, after and the fatalities, man, the fatalities are still something else. I think they toppled, in the fatality department, I think they toppled MK9s. Obviously, but your thoughts on MKX or MKXL, whatever you want to call it.
MK10.
Or Mortal Kombat 10, whatever you want to call it.
It was decent.
Yeah, and your thoughts on the gameplay, the fatalities, anything stick out to you specifically when it comes to that game?
Well, the fatalities for Alien were fucking spot on.
Yes. Huh. Yeah, and I don't even know if my favorite fatality from MK10 was Jason Voorhees, when he throws the opponent around to where they're reduced to nothing but limbs and a torso.
Yes. In a bag.
Yeah. Thought that was okay, but this is showing bias here. I think freaking MKX goes into friendship. Or great. Where do you think you would put this?
To get over here.
I'll meet you halfway in the middle. I'll just put it at the end of friendship here. Like that. Right. Where it's just about, it's decent enough, right?
Yeah.
Now we go to undoubtedly the freaking Mortal Kombat game that I spent the most time on in recent years, and that's Mortal Kombat 11. Or the way John would pronounce it over here, Mortal Kombat 11. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Boy,
You're
don't
gonna
make
kill
me
me
drive
for
my
that.
car over there and shove my side. Level.
I know. I'm a fucking asshole. I get it.
Yes.
But I like Mortal Kombat 11. A lot of customizations you can do with all the fighters there when you get everything unlocked. The Living Towers
Well,
is great.
also MK11 is where we got introduced to Cassie Cage,
That was
Brix's
MK10.
daughter.
That was MK10. But they evolved more as fighters here.
No, I'm saying an older Cassie Cage.
An older version, yes.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Is that we got introduced to Cassie Cage as an older version.
And for those of you wondering about before MK11 came out, I bet remember in all the other previous Mortal Kombat games when you were doing like a versus mode with your friend or if you were doing the ladder, like the ladder to get the ending for your fighter here, there would always be a battle. There could always be the chance that it's a doppelganger war between you and you, right?
Yeah.
And I bet a lot of Mortal Kombat players back then were thinking to themselves, I wonder what a story mode with you fighting your doppelgangers would be like. Mortal Kombat 11 actually answered that question.
Yeah, they brought the way you could actually face the goddess of time, to go back in time and shit to get different alternate endings of your character.
That and then the story mode itself, pretty much, they had the people from the older timeline from like MK9 era go into the MK11 world. And I just look at it, I'm like, oh my god, holy similar, I'm seeing fucking double. Right?
Yes.
And the goddess of time at this point, the big baddie was Kronika here. Right?
Yeah.
And yeah, trust me, she was a bitch.
Kronika.
She was a bitch to fight though.
Not for me.
Yeah, for me it was a struggle. I'm like, fuck this. Right?
It was a struggle for our friend Brett because he's like, oh, I can't. I took over. I'm just like, dun, 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 dun. He's like, how the hell? I'm like, I'm just button mashing, doing remembering combos that I played before.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think MK11 had a great story mode though. And yeah, they did bring a lot of DLC fighters in here, including a returning Melina to this series who actually, her character got killed off.
I forgot to add this in Mortal Kombat 10, they added baby-talities.
Baby-talities, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and then freaking...
They turned them into little babies. That was the creepiest thing.
Yeah, they also did that with MK9. I remember seeing that in MK9 as well. When freaking MK11 came out, though, they did add another alternative ending to a fight, and they brought back friendships for the first time in ages.
Yeah.
And of course, like I alluded to when we were talking about MK versus DC, yes, MK11, they actually brought the Joker back as a character.
Yeah.
Hold on for a second. Yes, I actually have the Joker figure from MK11. I know, I'm a nerd. I get it.
You're fugly too, so.
What?
I said you're fugly too.
That's also you.
Nope.
Ugh. So yeah, freaking hell. I would actually hold freaking, but you know, when it comes to overall, the fatalities were good. They added new characters, more DLC. Original fighters that weren't in the storyline, like Melina. Everyone wanted Melina there. The backlash was huge when she was in the original base game, only because they killed her character off in MK10 story mode. Right?
Yeah.
But you know, all in all, I think it's the best Mortal Kombat game that I've played thus far, so I say it goes on top of Flawless Victory here.
I'd say middle.
Yeah, Carmine's MK9 is still good, but it's still talked about there, I would think I would put it then.
Yeah, like I said, middle.
Yeah, I said no right there.
Yes.
I mean, second ain't bad. I mean, it's still in Flawless Victory. I think Mortal Kombat 9 is still more praised and talked about today. And then we go to the last one. The one that's out right now. And even though the name of the game is MK1, I refuse to call it that. I'm just going to call it Mortal Kombat 2023. Because that's a year it came out.
Mortal Kombat 12?
Or Mortal Kombat 12, whatever. But I just call it Mortal Kombat 2023. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Well, first of all, they took out the freaking... Well, let's start off with the freaking negatives here. First of all, and this one's the biggest one to me for the new game, and I haven't played it a whole lot, and the times I did play it, I just wasn't really into it. To me, the biggest flaw with MK1 that I've seen so far was they replaced the freaking crypt that you unlock stuff with the freaking new invasions mode that nobody really liked or wants to play or likes. As we know, right?
The only thing I could really say is I like the story where they kind of rewound time.
Yes, this is a game where the timeline's new with Liu Kang that took it over. Right?
It is.
And it's just a time. I mean, they could expand on this in future Mortal Kombat games with this concept, but I just feel like, you know, gameplay-wise, yeah, it's still good. The fatalities are still on point. Hell, I
still like the fact that they have my favorite character, fucking Sub-Zero.
They still got Sub-Zero in it, obviously. They brought back animalities recently.
Yeah, well, they made Scorpion and Sub-Zero brothers.
Yeah. And they kind of showed the backs, and they tried to get it, and then, yeah, but it's confusing. They have different backstories for each fighter. Like, for example, Melina, she wasn't freaking like... No, she wasn't a freaking clone. She just got infected. That's why she has them freaking turk-on teeth now. And she wasn't all a baddie in the first place in this one. Like she was in the previous installments. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
we get to see Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Shang Tsung and Quan Chi, the Deadly Alliance, right? There was a lot of references to their older games in the story mode. You know what I'm saying? That's what I liked about the story mode so much, right?
Yeah.
So the story mode here, I hold in high regard. They did that right. I mean, hell, I even like the final freaking, I even like the one where they were, I even like the scene in the ending scene where they were referencing Armageddon. You have to fight all the way up to the top of it just to face Quan Chi and the Deadly Alliance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like the reference there. And they're like, okay, you can pick any fighter that you actually previously fought with in story mode. I'm like, okay, I like this feature too in this story. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, for those of you that haven't played the story mode MK1 or MK 2023, whatever, I would recommend you do it. or some. I'm actually thinking about streaming that at some point. I just don't know when. Right?
Yeah.
But there's another. But going back to Naves, another thing that I feel like this game did not need was the whole cameo freaking system where you have to have a buddy fight with you. I wasn't really a fan of that. Because those character slots they could have used just to be their own fighter also, instead of just being a cameo, right?
Yeah.
Like, how did we go from Ronda Rousey voicing freaking Sonya in MK11 to Sonya just being a sidekick in the next game? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To me, that makes no sense.
It makes perfect sense.
I mean, I get that they tried, but in my opinion, I think that's a big flop or a fail. I do like how the cameos have their own fatalities, though, that you can access after a match. At the end of a match, and sometimes it's a classic ones, depending on who you pick. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the only good thing I'll say about that one, but besides that, the cameo system characters really don't work out for me.
Yeah.
And the fatalities are good, especially freaking, what's his name? Gears' freaking fatality in this one. It's like where the one where he snaps your jaw off, and then gives you a freaking skull that looks like yours, and then your head gets ripped off in another dimension. It's an endless time loop of being killed, decapitated.
Yeah.
And the first time I see him, like, holy shit, what the? Okay, that's unique. It's a fatality that never ends. Right?
This is the never-ending fatality.
Yes. Yeah, and I like how they brought back animalities now and all that stuff. I mean, it's still a game in progress, but for me personally, I wouldn't put MK 12, 1, 23. I wouldn't put that in flawless because it's not flawless. I'm not even sure if I would put it in freaking friendship here. I think I would just put it in get over here as in it's good enough. It's good, right?
Yeah.
But where would I place it? I think it's better than Armageddon and Shell and Monks. That's just my opinion. I know that's controversial, but it's my opinion.
Yeah.
So I would be thinking right about here. So far, it's a work in progress. It's not a game I go back to every day, but if I feel like playing the new Mortal Kombat game, at least I know I have it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, going back, thinking about this. This is our list of the Mortal Kombat games tier list. Would you agree with this list, or do you think we need to change some?
I agree.
Yep. Oh, yeah, but oh, yeah, which one was it? Oh, yeah, there was one game that I feel needs to be changed.
Fuck you. Put it back.
I'm just fucking with you. I always thought based on because of what you said earlier. Huh. So, yeah, out of all these games, we know your favorite one is Special Forces.
No, that's yours.
Heck no. You can't pin that one on me.
That's the one you wanted to play so much.
Heck no, man. Screw that. I'd rather play freaking MK versus DC over that crap game, and trust me, MK versus DC was no prize. Right.
Get out, kitty food.
So anyway, that's our thoughts. That's our tier list. Your tier list, your list of these games will look different than ours. You don't have to agree with us, just our opinion. I mean, hell, for all I know, on your list, you'd probably put, I don't know, Shaolin Monks at number 1 on Flawless Victory or Hall of Fame. That's your opinion. This is our opinion. Right?
Yeah, you guys can always put your opinions in the comments.
Yeah. Anyway, that being said, I hope you enjoyed our tier list. But yeah, this is just subjective. So yeah, don't be getting on our case just because we didn't rank your favorite game higher. Sorry to all the Special Forces fans out there, all one of you. so anyway,
you guys can jump on him for not putting the handheld versions on there.
They be going in freaking fatality or trash anyway. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed our tier list, and we will talk to y'all later. Peace.
Deuces.